whistleblower. He's saying Amenya should be protected to the end of the Adani saga. I blame Parliament was of the bottom-up system. There's a long post here from one of you, Kenso Andere. He says the government should abandon the Adani deal since there is no accountability and transparency in the process that was followed. Secondly, who came up with the idea? We should be told this. Third, the money is very little for 30 years. Has the government itself failed to raise the said amount of money, lending credence to what Willis is saying tonight, that Kenyans can indeed raise the 260 billion shillings? And of course, one more here, the government should abandon the Adani deal since there is no accountability. I think this is a repetition of the same. The Adani deal should be abandoned. It's shrouded in secrecy and it stinks. This is from Anonymous. Robert says clearly the Adani deal is punitive to the people of Kenya. The government should drop it ASAP for any chance of cleansing its already tainted CV. This is Robert. And here is one more. Hatutaki privatization of our airport. Yes, they should do away with it altogether. Frederick Nyenze from Ukunda in Kwale. And the deal of Adani should be cancelled immediately. Yes, they should abandon. Most of your responses tonight are about abandoning the Adani deal. No one seems to agree with the Kenya Kwanza government that this deal should go on. But let's take you back in history a little bit and see if things have changed since 2015. 9 years to the day today, the Bold newspaper headline that day was this: ICC allows Ruto's appeal, orders arrest of 3 Kenyans. That was the top story on the same date, that is the 11th of September, 9 years ago. But there's an interesting story right there. Raila Odinga, I'm still in the race for 2017 president. I'm still in the 2017 presidential race. And of course, today we had ODM also in our bulletin because Raila Odinga decided to give Peter Anyang' Nyong'o some of his powers as a party leader. He'll be chairing the Central Management Committee. So ODM was in the headline then, and ODM is in the headline today. And finally, there was a story about police finally nabbed doctor in rape claims. This was in Limuru, where Mugo Wawairimo, you remember? Mugo Wawairimo was arrested for rape claims in his clinic. So that is back in history. The Bold newspaper staying truth to the cause. Let's come back now to our discussion in studio. Willis Otieno is still here with us. Willis, do you find any reason why the government should continue with this deal tonight after what has been happening?
There is no reason whatsoever why this deal should continue. In fact, what we should be discussing as Kenyans is how to take the criminal minds that even entertained this deal this far, how we should be taking them to court, to charge them for trying to undermine and to overthrow our constitution in terms of the sovereignty provisions of that constitution. Mm-hmm. Those criminal minds are still serving in public office. If they could conceptualize such a criminal act, then that mind can still concoct and plan another haste, can plan and plot and execute another haste. For this, we thank Amenya for blowing the deal, blowing the whistle, and Kenyans taking up the conversation and putting pressure to bear on these criminals. Now we must take the conversation a notch higher. Mm-hmm. For as long as they are there, they've shown us what they are capable of doing. These are people who can sell this country, literally.
Which people? The people
They're criminal minds that came up with this Adani deal.
Okay.
Because they went and looked for an Indian, brought him here in a PPP, and they are selling to him a national asset, a piece of land, turning Kenyans into slaves for 30 years.
Even Adani himself will not be there.
He will not be there, but he's turning us into slaves to Adani's grandchildren. That criminal mind needs to be removed from the body politic of the Kenyan state.
Today, Amenya, the whistleblower, told KTN that he is being threatened by bloggers. He's receiving death threats on his phone. And of course, he's away. He's in France, I think. He's not in Kenya. How can, from a legal perspective, what can be done right now? I know he's in safer grounds, but what can be done to protect this whistleblower? Because this is money.
Forget even about the bloggers. I saw a letter DCI wrote to Adani's company.
Yeah.
Instead of focusing on the issue Amenya has raised, the theft of our national asset,
the alleged intention to steal.
It was theft starts from the criminal mind, conspiracy. The first charge on the charge sheet against these people is conspiracy. That's an offense on its own. There was a conspiracy that involved some members of the cabinet, Adani Group, and some members of KA. That's the first charge, and a standalone charge. So instead of investigating that conspiracy offense, they went for the whistleblower, Amenya, trying to investigate him for nonsense. And his company is involved in what kind of things. And they're asking for information that is publicly available. And they don't want to mention the key issue.
Which is Adani.
Okay. They are just trying to intimidate him. And these Indians, by the way, they have a local Indian here, I'm told, who is their front, that has brought them here. Even that Indian, we must put him to task. He must explain why is he bringing these things and facilitating this kind of deals in this country.
No Kenyan on our socials tonight wants this deal to continue. In fact, our question was if the government, based on what has been going on, the government needs to abandon this. And no Kenyan supports this deal. Why is it that the government does not listen to Kenyans? And at the far end, we see what usually happens, Willis. Why is it that it's so hard, especially on this deal? Because I'm trying to look for a reason why they should still hold on to this.
In fact, what I can assure Kenyans, and even Kenya Kwanza, and the co-conspirators to steal our land and our national asset, you will not steal our land. Kenyans did not fight for independence against the British to change them with Indian colonialists. It will not happen. That happened to our ancestors in 1897 when they allowed the colonialists to come here. As we are woke, we will fight for the freedom of this nation and for the Kenyan people to enjoy their liberation. This matter will be fought in court. This matter will be fought on the streets. Adani will not own that airport. That I can assure anybody.
If they look for you to present them in court, represent them.
If Adani came to me to represent them in court,
you know, billions.
Let me tell you, even if they gave me 100 billion, I will tell them I don't want.
Are you serious?
I do not want dirty money anywhere near me.
How is it that it's their money, not Kenyan money?
It is dirty money. Where did they get it? What I believe in, where I've reached in life. What is money? What is money? What is this great quest to accumulate? For what? I don't need it. My problem today is how to help my neighbor, not how to feed myself. So why should I go accumulating illegal money? I'm passing a curse to my children. I don't want that. I cannot associate with a criminal. And this is a criminal act they're not even stealing. And, you know, normal thieves you can associate with. Maybe somebody has stolen a phone to feed his family. You can excuse and associate with him. But someone that is stealing sovereignty, stealing a country's asset.
But it has to be with the agreement and concurrence of the government. I mean, they can't just step in, Willis. To be fair to them, they can't just step in and take over without the government authority, without our authority.
That is why I'm telling you, the first charge count on the charge sheet is conspiracy. The conspiracy involves Adani Group, people in cabinet, and people in KA.
Okay.
Those are the co-conspirators who are trying to steal land belonging to the people of Kenya. They are trying to steal and to rob our sovereignty.
Okay.
Do you know, to steal sovereignty, the first article in our constitution is sovereignty. Our territorial borders affirms our sovereignty. I cannot speak as loud as I'm speaking here if I go to Uganda or Tanzania. That is their sovereignty. But when I'm here, the borders of Kenya, we preserve them in our constitution. That is our sovereignty. Our ancestors, our forefathers died fighting, defending this land.
Okay.
Why should I allow an Indian to come here and give us a fake deal? We'll go to court, we'll fight it, we'll demonstrate on the streets. We'll occupy JKIA to make sure that we don't lose not even an eighth, even a singe of soil. They will not even carry a scoop of soil from JKIA to take to India. For that one, we will not agree. No. We can't agree.
Willis, today, there was a press conference and the documents have been provided finally. Alfred Mutua promised 2 weeks ago, but finally they've been provided. 10 days they'll take to scrutinize the documents. But the sentiment is out there. Kenyans don't want this. it takes me back to the time Kenya said we reject this finance bill.
Yes.
And the government pushed with it. And there were demonstrations. These workers, aviation, which there are very few people, I'm sure they don't go past probably 2,000-3,000, said no, and the government pushed until we had to send over 3 CSs to the airport, including Kotu, to broker this deal. On that basis, should we wait for the outcome of that document moving forward? I mean, that scrutiny moving forward, or this, to you, from where you sit as a lawyer, as a citizen, needs to be abandoned, and then we need to rethink on how to improve
this
our airport?
Is now a fait accompli. The Kenyan people have spoken, they've rejected the Adani deal. That is done. For terms of process, the matter is in court. It will take the judicial process to also deal with it, to put the final nail on the coffin. But the Kenyan people have done their part. They've spoken on the streets. They've spoken on all platforms. They've rejected it. That deal is done. It is finished.
Okay.
Mene, tekel. The writing was on the wall on the 25th of June. If William Ruto and Kenya Kwanza have eyes, if they cannot read what is written on that wall, let them go and look for the prophet of God to interpret it to them. We are now in the era where the voice of the people must be respected, and the voice of the people is the voice of God. It seems they are not able to interpret what is written on that wall. Can they ask their prophets to read for them, just like that bad king went to look for Daniel, to interpret for him what God had written? God has spoken. They are just refusing to listen to the people of Kenya. And the people of Kenya are not even asking for a lot. They are simply saying, govern us in accordance with our constitution, which we gave to you. Improve our economy. We just want good governance. It's about the economy, stupid.
Okay.
As James Carville used to say in America. It's the economy, stupid.
Okay. Okay. As I let you go, Willis, we are at a place where there are so many rumors about this company. There's a lot that we still don't know about this deal. I've seen a statement from Isaac Mwaura. Would you think if the government took some of its time to explain to Kenyans and to the KAA workers what this entails, today would be at a different place?
In fact, if they are to do an explanation, I was coming to the studio, somebody called me from Cherry, and they told me something that was very sad, that on the night when that fire took place, there was a blackout, and there are some strange movements at the airport, and maybe possibly.
I think that was a rumor, Willis.
Yes, a rumor. I'm saying somebody called me to tell me that. Yeah. I just say, if we need an explanation, we need an explanation that we hope our young children did not pass through that airport to a foreign country. And while at it, they need to explain to us, where are our children? You know, I have not slept. When I think that there's a mother somewhere who is crying day and night, that her only offense is she took her baby to school to study. The same path that I followed as a young man to sit here, going to school. That tonight, that mother is going to bed without knowing
where the child is.
And so if there's any explanation that the Kenya government owes the Kenyan people as a matter of urgency, start with Endarasha. Once you're done with Endarasha, this Kware guy, the Kware killings, our women are the carriers of life.
Was that guy found, by the way?
The guy just disappeared. I mean,
was he found?
He's not been found. You are telling me, and in fact, I'm actually questioning, what is this going on in this country? This man is arrested.
Within 12 hours.
And even no charge sheet is presented in court. There's no charge sheet by there.
They were still doing investigations.
No, there was no charge sheet presented.
But they were doing investigations.
Yes.
Yeah.
Then they facilitate his escape.
That's an allegation.
Yes, I'm saying they facilitated it. If the state wants to find you,
they will find you.
They'll find you.
They found him within 12 hours.
Yes. Now you're telling me it's now almost 1 week, 2 weeks?
3 weeks.
3 weeks, he's not been found?
And it's quiet.
And it's quiet.
The
it's
police
like,
are not
and you think it is important to send 3 SS to JKA to defend Adani. Can you send those 3 CSS to Endarasha to tell us where our children are?
Okay.
I cannot sleep today thinking about that mother, those mothers who are crying. Even Gachagua, he always says that usiguze Murima. If at all Gachagua really cared about, I care about every Kenyan, But even if he cared about Mount Kenya, let him even be selfish for once. Those kids, those mothers must find an answer, and we need those kids back alive. Those are the explanations. We need an explanation. The IG has not been able to explain to the court, where is Bob Njagi and the Longton brothers? We have more serious explanations that the Kenyan people are asking than Adani. The airport is here. Planes are landing every day. People are taking off. It's not a priority. But here we are talking about the life of Kenyans. The Longton brothers, Bob Njagi. The court ordered to the IG, acting IG, to appear in court to explain the whereabouts of these people. Those are more pressing issues. But you are seeing somebody spending so much energy on Adani, on a Muindi, at the expense of... That's why I tell you, these are colonialists. These are the same home guards. Remember,
there's nothing wrong with people seeking opportunities, Willis.
There's a time I went to America, and the African Americans were very angry. In fact, they are very angry with West Africans. I asked why, and they told me, these people sold our ancestors to slavery. We have slave traders here today in Kenya, selling Kenyans to Muindis.
No, that's not correct.
It is.
How?
Because when you sell our airport, and you don't care about the Longton brothers, Bob Njagi, you don't care about the Endarasha babies, you don't care about the Kware women, you are showing so much energy defending a commercial deal when you have life and limb that has been lost here. Today, in fact, this country, if I was in leadership, we should not be discussing anything other than focusing all our energy and efforts on finding these kids. Giving comfort to these mothers.
I need to let you go. There is 2 comments I'd like to read from our feedback. Good evening, Ndugu Wakili. Kindly tell them that we are together and serious to fight physically to protect our airport. Let's fight for our country's natural resources. That's from Hillary. And hi Ken, I've heard that the government also intends to sell Kenya Power Grid. Please, can Wakili answer on this?
I've seen some document. I don't know
if it's true or not. There could be a lot of things, so we shouldn't comment about it because we are not sure. Everything about the Adani government deal is shady. We should not only do away with the deal, but also find ways to stabilize our economy, which I think is key for Kenyans. Our airports belong to Kenyans because they are the only shareholders. There are many allegations here about former CS. I'll not read, but definitely, Willis, I think Kenyans, from where they stand tonight, it's time for the government to rethink the whole of this thing and give Kenyans some comfort. Because if you see the outrage in the social media spaces of Kenyans saying this is shrouded in secrecy and should not happen, and Kenyans expressing themselves this much to the extent that workers feel insecure about their jobs, and no one seems to care about the workers, and more, as you say, is about the Adani and the takeover. I think there is something wrong somewhere. I think it's time the government of Kenya prioritized what citizens are saying, because this is the problem, in my opinion. The problem is they don't listen to Kenyans. If 2 weeks ago they listened and produced the documentation, we will not have paralyzed business at the airport.
Look at the losses that
the losses that were made, running into hundreds of millions.
And the inconveniences, the patients who are traveling. People are
there was a nurse that we watched who had patients on the other side and she couldn't travel.
But they don't care. They just don't care.
Or it's not their priority. I need to let you
know.
go.
I believe they don't care.
They don't care.
It's about they don't care.
Okay. Your parting shot, the Adani deal, a deal that should not be?
Adani must fall.
Adani deal must fall.
Adani can go and do airports in India, but not in Kenya.
A good place to let Wakili go. Always a pleasure coming on board. You know, this Wakili was my classmate. But I was cleverer than him in school.
A neighbor in Kapsoya.
I was cleverer than you in school, but nowadays you talk too much. Thank you so much, Willis, for coming tonight. And we look forward to you always appearing on the show, because you give meaning to a lot of things that we do here. Asante sana, and all the best.
Thank you.
Adani deal.
Adani must fall. There is no deal.
All right. As I let Willis leave, a petitioner has appeared before the Public Petitions Committee to shed light on alleged loss of 21 billion shillings at the defunct National Health Insurance Fund through fictitious claims on the financial year ending 30th June 2022. Now, that petitioner, Bernard Mushere, a fraud risk management consultant, told the committee that the unbudgeted claims led to a crisis that made it impossible for NHIF to pay hospital bills for genuine contributors. Before Gloria reports on this story, because it's also very important, did you see this confession that Maritime Department spent 1.6 billion shillings counting fish? How do you count fish, Willis?
What are you even counting fish? No, why are you counting fish?
Counting fish?
No, why are you counting it?
In the ocean. How do you count